Good evening. I'd like to call the BUHS number 6 board meeting of Monday, March 7th to order. And this is our reorganizational meeting, so we'll begin the meeting by taking nominations for the position of board chair. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Ricky Davidson.
Is there a second for that nomination?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ruth. Are there any other nominations for the position of board chair?
I don't know. Do you want to be chair?
I'm willing to accept it if my peers would like me to serve.
And to take your nomination means you no longer want to be chair.
I think it's perhaps time for a change, and I don't like to hog it. It's a wonderful position, and I don't want to hog it.
That being said, I don't have a nomination.
A little bit of a surprise, but not a nomination, maybe.
Well, I'm not going away. I just got reelected.
Good.
I can be on more committees now.
Any further discussion? So the nomination is for Ricky Davidson to be elected to the board chair.
Has it been seconded? I'm sorry.
It has been
Yeah.
Yes.
seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? The ayes have it. Ricky, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd also
Switch
like
chairs.
to, before I yield the gavel, I'd also like to thank Robert Woodworth for his service as board chair. He's done a lot to quietly and effectively lead the board and lead the district, and so I would like to recognize your body of work, and I speak for everybody in the administration that we look forward to your continued influence on the board. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your support all along the way. What a long, strange trip it's been.
And as you said, it's not over. You're just not going anywhere, really. All right.
You look suddenly relaxed.
What's
You
that?
look suddenly relaxed.
Relax?
Yeah, like this.
Well, I will say that now I can pay more attention to what's actually being said at meetings. You know, when you're sitting here thinking about, did I remember to do this, did we second that, what's going to happen here and there. It's a different perspective. I just got to find a seat somewhere.
Have to move right in, so we're good. All right, so thank you all for your vote of confidence. Open the floor up for nominations for board vice chair. Mike?
I nominate Robert Woodward.
All right. Is there a second for that?
Seconded.
Seconded, okay. Any other nominations? Russ?
No offense, but I'm going to nominate Ruth Barton.
Okay.
Because I want to hear the speeches. I want to hear the debate.
Any other, a second for Ruth?
Second.
All right. Any other nominations? All right. So we have two, Bob and Ruth. And is there any discussion? Anybody have any questions? Well, first of all, would either of you serve in this capacity if elected?
I would.
I would.
Okay. All right. So.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, totally.
Would you serve as, would people serve as clerk if you didn't get the vice chair? You don't have to answer that. That's a loaded question.
Is there any other questions?
I guess I would. That's not my forte, but
It's not mine either, Robert, but I've been doing it.
I know you're good at it, Ruth.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions for Bob or Ruth? All right. So I guess we'll just have to do this all in favor of and either one. So all in favor of, we'll just go how they were nominated with Bob, for Bob as vice chair, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
How many was that?
I'll wait.
2 of you.
Okay.
Okay.
And all in favor of Ruth as vice chair? And there's 2. Which I guess I'm going to be the tiebreaker. Oh,
Or no, you're gonna be the
you guys
tie.
didn't vote. Yeah, because,
I can't vote?
well, assumingly you
No,
guys would
you
vote for
could
yourselves.
Yeah, well, oh, did you vote already?
I didn't vote.
Neither one of you
Okay,
voted.
I'm too busy writing.
I was voting for you, so.
All right.
But, well, that's better that way probably, that we don't,
Okay. So neither one
so
of you.
how many are left then?
So just me. I'm the only one who hasn't voted.
But are there 5?
Yeah, there's the 4 of them, so it's 2 and 2, and it's to me as the chair. Wow, the first thing I get to do as chair is I get to break a tie vote. I don't think we've ever had a tie vote. Steve, you're looking, am I wrong procedurally?
I think you're doing fine.
Okay, good. All right, I thought maybe you realized I was making a mistake. I guess I will vote for Bob for vice chair, just because he sat in this chair for so long that it feels comfortable that way. So Bob would be vice chair. And now we have nominations for clerk. Are there any nominations
I
for
would
clerk?
like to nominate Ruth Barton.
Okay.
I have a second.
And Russ is seconding that. All right, Ruth, would you serve as clerk if?
I will, if you so desire.
Okay. Are there any other
I
nominations?
hope Jane comes back soon.
This is a bad time to be asking
I know.
this question.
Yeah, it's a rough one. Are there any other nominations for clerk? Okay, seeing none. All in favor as Ruth for clerk? See where to say aye. Aye. All right,
So that's
and
unanimous.
that's unanimous. All right, the other thing we have to do is we have to nominate and elect 3 WSESU voting members. Up until tonight's meeting, our voting members were Ruth, Russ, and Pat. And Bob served as an alternate to that. So are there any nominations or volunteers for WSTSU voting members?
We have to continue on.
Okay, Russ is,
I would be happy to continue on as well.
all right.
I realize
Wonder
that
if Pat
it's,
would-
I wonder if Pat would as well. Man, I've never heard that he doesn't want to, so it's hard to know. Is there anybody else that would either volunteer or would want to nominate somebody that's here for that? Okay, well, why don't we go with the assumption that Pat will?
I'd still be willing to be alternate if
And you're
it
still
was
willing to be
so
alternate?
desired.
Okay,
Bob, if you want to be on it, I mean, I'd be alternate if you want. I mean, I've chaired it for a while, and now I'm feeling like I should do like you've done. But if you want to be on the committee,
You're chairing the
I've been
finance.
chairing the finance committee
Right.
for
Yeah,
not the SU, but the
No,
finance.
that's okay. When you've got that under control. I'm happy to be an alternate, and I can't always promise I can make every meeting anyway, based on the time of day.
Those are usually like 5:30.
Yeah,
a
that's,
5:45 is a
Quarter to
typical time.
yeah.
all right, so if I have this right, we have a slate of Ruth, Russ, and Pat with Bob as an alternate as voting members to WSCSU. Is there a motion to that effect from somebody?
I would move that, the nomination, I guess, right?
Yep.
That our WSESU voting members would be Ruth Barton, or Russ, and Pat, with Bob as an alternate.
A second?
Second?
All right.
Now, are you questioning something?
No.
All right. Have a quizzical look tonight, I guess. Steve. All right. So all those in favor for Ruth, Russ, and Pat and Bob as the alternate as our SCSU voting members signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Done. Take care of that. Next on our agenda is to establish meeting days and times. Typically, historically, this meeting has always met on the first and third Mondays of the month unless otherwise reorganized at 7 o'clock. Does that still work for everybody, generally speaking, the first and third Mondays at 7?
I think that works just fine.
It seems to.
I think so too.
All right, so we'll just assume that we're just going to keep it that way. So we'll be the first and third Mondays at 7 p.m. And then new committee assignments is the next thing on our agenda. And we have a number of committees. Everybody, I think, knows the committees that they're on for the most part. And I guess what I would say is if people want to move committees.
Will you be changing any of your committees with your new role?
Well, I don't think I would chair 2 committees as well as chairing the board. So I would ask other people that are on those committees. I would like to stay on the committees that I'm on. I'm also going to, just because it's such a big part of it, is I'm going to make a very strong effort to start taking part in the finance committee meetings, to do that as well as the chair. I was thinking about that. I think that's probably a good idea. Otherwise, all the committees are going to have to technically re-elect a chair the next time they meet. But I'm not going to jump any of the committees. I'll stay on all the committees that I'm on.
And you're on BAMS and?
TCC and Planning and Policy.
Oh, you're on 3.
Yeah. And historically, I mean, I don't know, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, the way that I remember it always being that we were supposed to be on at least 3. So that's why, that's just sort of a good rule of thumb, I think. Because currently, I guess I can just go through this. I asked Barb to send me a copy of the list earlier today. So finance currently is Ruth, Mike, Bob, and Sean, with Bob as chair. And then the ad hoc finance, building, and grounds folks are Ruth and Bob. TCC is currently Ruth, myself, Russ, Sean, and Ian. Planning and Policy is currently Lori, myself, Pat, and Ian, with Ian as chair. BAMS is currently Mike, myself, Sean, and Russ as an alternate, and I was chairing that at TCC. WRCC is currently Ruth, Bob, and Pat, with Ruth as chair. The other things that are listed here is under WSCSU Certified Negotiations person is Bob, and under negotiations for the classified folks is me. And then Finance, Compensation, Evaluation, and Goals is Russ, with Bob as an alternate for the WSCSU.
Has that committee ever met?
Yeah.
That,
What?
it's under WSCSU.
Is it the
It
finance
says
committee?
it's the
Finance
WSCU
committee.
Finance Committee.
Oh,
But
the
it's,
finance
if
committee.
it says finance / compensation / evaluation
I'm sorry.
/
Okay, oh yeah, no, yeah, because
I didn't-
we do the
Yeah, I didn't
contracts
realize
for-
I was an alternate for that.
I didn't.
guess I better
Until I saw that, I didn't know.
jump
what it
into action.
So I would say, why don't people take a couple of days to think about any committees that they might want to rejoin, change. And I will send out an email to Lori and to Pat with what they're on and asking them if there's anything they want to change. And then so we'll send it out electronically once we have a firm list. And if I don't hear from you, I'll assume you want to stay where you are. And then when those committees meet, and the current chair should organize a plan the next meeting, and then at the first thing, just re-elect a chair or elect a chair for that committee. Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. All right. So committees, get in touch with me electronically in the next couple of days.
And if we're fine with what we're doing.
Don't do anything.
Okay.
If everything's good, just stay where you are.
I'm fine.
Then we'll just leave it as it is,
I'm fine with where I am.
and then we'll just go from there. Okay, so moving on our agenda, clerk's report, and we have 2 sets of minutes to approve from January 25th and February 1st. Is there a motion?
I move that, oh, I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
I move that we approve the minutes of January 25th.
Is there a second from Bob? All right. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections from those minutes? Seeing none. All in favor of the minutes from January 25th as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? No? All right. And then we also have the minutes from our February 1st meeting. Is there a motion for the February 1st?
I move that we approve the minutes for February 1st, 2016 BUHS District 6 Board.
Second.
Seconded by Mike. All right, any additions, deletions, or corrections in those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Stand.
Ian's abstaining. You were absent, I believe, right? Yes. Okay. Great. Okay, so minutes. Next thing under clerk's report is communications. Does anybody have any communications for the board? No?
Well, I think that there are, but I think they could be handled under the Act 46 discussion later.
Later on.
I'll,
You'll wait till then?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the only other thing would be, yeah, no, that, I think Steve probably will say something that, if he does it, I will.
Okay. Apparently there's something.
And I'll give you a hint.
That's on the list.
And the two of them can pass notes to each other or something here.
Is that today?
Okay.
No.
All right.
It's about, right.
Okay, so nothing else for the clerk's report. Move on to recognition of groups and/or individual visitors. Anything specific you're coming tonight, or just
the ambiance.
Okay, excellent.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Well, we're glad to have you. Thank you very much. All right. So I'll accept a motion to move into consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
Second.
Sean and then Russ. All right. And under consent agenda, first we'll start with finance, building, and transportation.
Okay. Finance met on the 25th of February, and we approved warrant numbers 1126, 1127, 1128, 1129, 1130, 1132, and 1133 in the amount of $401,511.22. We also approved warrant numbers 1134, 1135, 1136, 1137, 1138, and 1139, the amount of $891,619.95. We also approved payrolls, payroll of February 5th in the amount of $429,724.89. And payroll of February 19th in the amount of $559,088.14.
For some reason, the January 18th warrants are on the agenda. Did we not approve those before?
Oh,
I could look at the previous one.
well, we did not approve those at that meeting, but I presume we must have approved them at a previous meeting.
Yeah, I think the 18th ones have definitely been done. Let me look back at,
Last time, maybe not.
It's not on the minutes from the last two meetings. I just looked and
All right.
they're not
All right,
listed.
I guess those must have gotten overlooked somewhere along the way. Okay. Is this your
No, that's
notes?
Sean's.
That's Sean's notes. All right.
yeah,
They are listed, the warrant numbers are listed on the February 1st meeting under a different date, January 4th, but the number is
The numbers do
1116.
match.
The warrant numbers
well,
Yeah, the numbers match up.
I'm looking at the minutes of our January 28th meeting, and it said that we approved the warrants of January 18th, according to the minutes.
So it's just some misprint in our minutes from the
Okay.
first then.
Yeah.
So they've already been approved.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, is there anything else for finance, building, and transportation?
We talked about, investments,
Is it Sharon? Is it Sharon?
the investments that are not from Mr.
That are not part of the Eames Scholarship.
Eames,
The rest of our endowment, and it's,
Sherlock Investments.
yes, Pete Sherlock, and Pete will be, I guess it'd be semi-retiring, and has announced that we should be finding someone else to manage those funds, and we will be scheduling interviews to do just that in the near future.
Are we gonna have interviews on this Thursday? Or-
No, 2 weeks from
It was
this.
2 weeks, yeah.
Next time around, I think, yeah. Yeah, that's the basis of that. That represents about a little over $1 million that we have that's non-Eames money. The Eames money is split between Wells Fargo and Phil George, A.G. Edwards.
No, Edward Jones.
Edward Jones. I always get Edwards and Edward Jones mixed up.
And will there be warrants prior to our next meeting posted, do you think? You know that? They haven't,
Any other
any
one?
warrants additional, in other words, for our Thursday meeting?
Well, if there are, they would hopefully be out the next day or so we have enough time to look at them. I don't know that for sure, Sean.
Woody, on the January 18th warrant, which minutes are you looking at where this board?
I'm looking at the
approved it?
minutes of the Finance Committee.
Oh, yeah, but this board hasn't approved it. We haven't.
Well, we approved on February 1st, we did approve those warrant numbers for the ones that are listed on our agenda.
Oh, it's
for the
listed under
18th.
January 4th.
So
I
it's
see.
listed under January, there's just a typo in the February
Okay.
1st minutes of our regular board meeting.
I'm good.
You should have said January 18th, not January 4th.
I was just confirming that Finance had indeed.
Yeah, no, I
Done
was
their
just looking to
part,
see
yeah.
what this board had done.
All right.
The other thing that we discussed was our ongoing discussion about the disposition of the Whetstone Village property. We didn't come to any conclusion so far about that. The next meeting will be this Thursday morning at 8 a.m. You're all invited to come, but I won't be there.
All right. Did you have something?
You won't either?
Well,
No, I will be.
Oh, okay.
But wasn't able to make that finance meeting, and I had talked with Frank the night before, and one of the things that did come up on the warrants was ice time that was not used, and it was with the hockey. And so I just was wondering what that was, why there was ice time that wasn't used, and if it wasn't used, could it be utilized? I know ice time is so expensive and valuable that, you know.
Any idea what the dates were? I can check Frank on what the dates were.
Yeah, I think Frank probably forgot, since I wasn't there,
Okay.
it wasn't done.
Yeah, I can follow up.
I didn't see it.
All right. Steve, did you have something else for finance?
I'm wondering, do the February 1st minutes need a reapproval with that?
Yeah, I figure once we finished going through consent agenda, we'll go back through and just do a friendly amendment to those minutes.
Okay, thanks.
To the approval of the minutes, yeah. Okay. So, all right, so next is WSCSU Finance Committee.
We met on the 24th of February and approved a whole bunch of warrants. We haven't met in a while. Our next meeting is on the 30th at 5 p.m. and there'll be more warrants. We're also going to take a look at the finances year to date.
Great, thank you. Planning and Policy.
Has not met.
Teacher Curriculum Committee also has not met. And the BAMS Committee has not met since our last meeting. WRCC.
Has not met.
Okay. Anything else for consent agenda? All right. So,
I would just make a comment, you know, sometimes it appears as if subcommittees have not met, but the reason is because we were all at the at the end of the meeting and the preparation of the budget. So there's so many other things going on, so it's not like we just slacked off.
Great.
On some committees like planning policy,
Yeah.
only meet when there are policies on the
It's
table.
coming
to consider.
forward to take care of, right? All right. All right, is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Seconded by Mike. All in favor? Any abstentions or nays? All right. Consent agenda is approved. So I would like to just move, we back up for a quick second and just move a friendly amendment to the minutes of February 1st to change under finance, under consent agenda finance, where it says January 4th, 2016, be changed to January 18th, 2016.
You may want to put in a total of dollar amount.
Right, and those are warrant, there's a list of warrants there, and the total amount is for $146,949.44.
So it's the January 18th warrants.
Right, they were listed as the 4th, but they should be the 18th. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of that friendly amendment?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Consent agenda, we got minutes done. Moving on to administrative reports. Why don't we start the far end of the table with Mr. Lyman and work our way up?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'll be brief. Just highlighting a few recent events. We had the annual Vermont Rights Day was on February, well, it was February 10th now, but we haven't met in a long time. And our kids participated in the English classes, and there were some really exemplary products from that. Basically, what they have a writing prompt. They have 7 minutes to respond to it, and it's some type of creative writing assignment. And there were some really fun ones that the kids created. And then they're put on a kind of like a blog. They're entered in, and kids from around the state enter their writing and they're blogged, and some fun stuff that they create in 7 minutes. Let's see, the middle school winter concert. Is it the winter concert? Spring concert. It's winter, yeah. I don't know what it is. Is it winter or spring? This Thursday, 7 p.m. for the public, and then the students have a, we'll present to the rest of our students and staff on Friday afternoon. So that's always a great event, and you're all welcome Thursday at 7. On March 16th, the Brattleboro Area Prevention Coalition is sponsoring a guest speaker. He's a nationally known speaker. His name's Kevin Brooks, and if you Googled him, you'd come up with a website, and he's from Vancouver, travels around to do motivational kind of speaking, and I believe he was injured in a drunken driving accident years ago, and so he's wheelchair bound and kind of shares his message, a really positive message for kids around prevention and many other things. So I'm excited to have him, and that the Prevention Coalition is sponsoring that. And just starting a lot of the transitioning for incoming 7th graders, and we haven't done a lot yet. There isn't a lot yet with the outgoing 8th graders, but with the incoming 7th graders, we've met with Vernon families recently. We have a meeting with Dover families coming up, and starting to set up lots of those meetings with sending schools. So excited about that. And that's, the last piece. Our Math Counts team. Math Counts is a state competition, and we sent a group up about a month ago, and they competed on a Saturday. Peg Maxfield, the math teacher, she brought a group up and they competed, and we had some really, let's see, the team finished 2nd out of 5 teams at the regional competition, and one of our students, Ben Brady, finished 3rd out of 35 students in that competition. And so he's advancing to the state round in March, and the team is going up this Saturday, And I'll just quickly list the names of the kids participating. Ben Brady, Miles Anton, Katrina Teow, Kim Amanon. Kim was here presenting here a couple months ago. Jillian Mahon, Chally Vickery, and Abe Moore Odell. So those are all kids who participated in that.
3 of those are from Westover, aren't they? Sounds like.
We have some high performers from Dover. So they're pretty excited about that, and Peg's going to take them up again this Saturday.
So that's it. All right, moving on to the high school.
Sure. So I have several items, and I'll try to make them brief but informative. First is our newsletter. Our latest issue of the newsletter is out. There contains a lot of information for parents and for families. Please feel free to take a look at it at your leisure. We did, one thing that we are getting ready for, hard to believe, is graduation. We've actually started looking at the lists and all that stuff. If you know seniors that are looking for scholarship money, please remind them and encourage them. We have a lot of scholarships. We've made those available via email. Counselors have worked with their students to let them know about them. But if you know of any seniors, please let them know that it's very important that they apply for those scholarships. It's a great way to help defer the cost of a college education. Also coming up, on the third page, athletics. It's hard to believe that spring sports are starting on the 21st. Hockey sticks have been traded for lacrosse sticks in the hallways. And we're looking for a great spring. I'll talk more in a few minutes about the winter sports, which were highly successful as well. Another publication I'd like to share is we've spent some time thinking as a school about how do we want to present our brand and what does our brand look like in public and how do we kind of relate and kind of let people know who we are and what we stand for. And we went to a conference a few months ago about proficiency-based learning. And one of the topics that came up was how to use your program of studies more effectively. And in that, we talked a lot about unintended bias in a program of studies. How do you make your program of studies gender neutral as well as neutral for anybody trying to access various courses. But as part of it, we talked about accessibility. And it's really hard for a student or a family to be given a 70-plus page document and said, here's the program of studies, learn more about our school. And so one of the things that we've developed is we've developed this somewhat colorful, and it really is a little bit more concise, and it talks a little bit about the school, what kinds of things do we value. It's not intended to replace the program of studies, but if you're an 8th grade student and you're getting your first introduction to the high school, this is a nice way, concise, to look and see what the high school has to offer. And I have to give a lot of kudos to Dave Mazur, who provided the vast majority of the pictures here. He's our photography teacher. And I also have to give kudos to Karen Tronosky, who designed it, and to counseling, other administrators, and other department heads who provided a lot of this content. So it's things about BUHS that you may or may not know, but it's kind of a quick look at what we are and what do you need to do to graduate, what does proficiency-based learning mean, what are our academies like. So we're pretty proud of this, and if you see Karen Tronosky, give her some kudos. She did a great job of developing this document. You'll begin to see it around the community a little bit more as we begin to launch it. You are the first public group to see it. So anyway, so it's been a long time since we met, and one of the things that happened soon after our annual meeting is we did 3 performances of the musical Rent, and the BUHS players always do a great job. This year they chose something that had challenging subject matter and a pretty emotional piece as well. And I have to give Steve Rice a lot of credit. He, at the very beginning, when he approached me, he and Bob Pransky approached me about doing Rent, we talked a lot about how do we take Rent and make it an educational experience. He brought in representatives from the Southern Vermont AIDS Task Force. They worked with the kids. Many of them talked about what it was like to live through the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s and what it was like to be in a big city living through that tough time where there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of poor science being done. That was all reflected in the passion of the performances. It was clear as I watched it. I went to the final performance on Saturday, and they've done that several times. They've done it 3 times in front of the public, and their performance was stellar that night. And I have to give them a lot of credit for what they did. And so if you see any of the cast members, or Steve, or Mitch Davis, or Tony Speranza, or Patty Meyer, any of the adults that were involved in that, Mary Lynn did costuming, please give them kudos for a great job. It was wonderful. And it's really great. Steve Rice and Bob Kransky do a wonderful job of trying to balance the musical as entertainment with the musical as a learning experience. And I have a lot of respect for the work they do, so we're very pleased. In other arts-related news, this is Student Art Month for BUHS. We continue to have artwork displayed in the courthouse downtown. We also have work at the River Garden. And the work at the River Garden is a show from the 2016 Student Art of the Month winners. And there's a huge list of students. I'll just pass this around so you can see who the winners are. A lot of their art is on display now. It will continue to be throughout the month. As part of that, several students won Gold Key Awards, and they're listed there as well for the Scholastic Art Competition. And we had several winners and several honorable mentions. So again, feel free to look at that list. Turning to sports, we had a very dramatic basketball season this year. Our girls basketball team was seeded 13th or 14th. They went to the playoffs as a Cinderella. They knocked off the number 3 seed and then went on to knock off the number 6 seed. And then they did lose in the semifinals up at UVM to St. Albans, to BFA St. Albans. And they did a great job. And if you ever had the chance to watch the girls play, they played with a lot of grit and a lot of determination. They certainly weren't the tallest team, but they fought for every single possession along the way.
So Steve, you
yes.
confused me greatly. Does that mean they came in second in the state?
Well, if you were, the finals are tomorrow.
So nobody.
But if you had to rank us, you'd say we came in 4th.
4th, okay.
Because we lost in the first round.
Okay.
I guess you'd say that, right? So, but they did a phenomenal job. The boys also made it to the playoffs. They didn't get quite as far as the girls, but we did have several players named to the Marble Valley All-League team, so we're very proud of them. They're going to go on to represent us in the North-South Classic as well. Nordic skiing has quietly been making headlines as well. They won the Marble Valley League title, and they also placed 3rd in the D1 State Freestyle Championship. In the individual races, we finished behind, as a team, we finished behind Mount Mansfield and CVU, and ended up 3rd place overall in skate and classic. The girls' team finished up 7th overall in Division 1. In the skate race, Declan King was 16th and Isaac Freitas Egan was 6th. And then in the classical race, Isaac came in 2nd, and Jonah Koch was 19th. Declan King was 18th as well, and Spencer Logier was 13th. In the girls' race, Isabella Thurber was 17th in skate, and Liz Morse was 18th in classic. Isaac and Liz will have earned spots on the Vermont's Youth 16 Elite team, so they'll continue to compete as long as there's snow, I think. And they're heading up to Maine next weekend, and then they'll also represent Vermont in the Eastern High School Championships later on. So we've got some great skiers, and so we're very proud of them as well. Another communication I've received was from the NEASC. We submitted our 2-year report, and we've recently gotten it back. I think, Bob, you have a copy already?
Yes, I do.
And Dr. Staley has a copy. Basically, we have to submit a 2-year progress report to NEASC. And they cited some of the things that they liked. We kind of did a mini self-study, and they cited some things that we liked. They really liked the progress we've made as we were transitioning to proficiency-based learning. When the visit occurred in 2013, we actually did not have proficiency-based standards in place, and the state had actually not even kind of broached that as a direction we should go in. So I'm glad that they could recognize the hard work that all of our teachers have done to get us to that spot. They also lauded our use of personal learning plans in grades 9 and 10. That's work that's going to continue to expand as well. Our next step is our 5-year progress report, which is due on March 1st, 2018. It sounds like it's far away, but it'll be here before you know it. And we're looking already at how are we. They've listed some requirements about school-wide rubrics that demonstrate measurement of student progress. Things like determining a method to assess the extent at which teachers are incorporating higher order thinking. We're already working on fulfilling some of these as part of our movement to proficiency-based learning. So we'll keep it posted as we go along. So it's good to get that validation that we're doing okay for the most part in the eyes of NEASC. So this Thursday is parent conferences. We'll release school at 12:30, and parent conferences will be from 3 to 7. And we're going to follow the same format that we've been following for many years. And we look forward to seeing a lot of parents at that. We also have 2 other early releases. We're administering the Smarter Balanced Assessment exam to all of our 11th graders on Tuesday, March 22nd and Wednesday, March 23rd. And we're going to try something new based on our work last year and the feedback we've gotten over several years. We're going to do a really early release. We're going to release 9th, 10th, and 12th graders at 11:30. And then we're going to buy lunch for all of our juniors and then have them begin the testing at 12 from 12 to 3:20 on those days. Part of the reason we've opted to do it this way is, for many years, whether we were giving NSREs or kneecaps, we were canceling classes or rescheduling classes or pulling teachers out to proctor, and it was kind of chaotic. And so after last year's administration, we kind of decided we wanted to see if we could try something to calm the atmosphere in the school, so it wasn't a case of, oh, I'm missing my class for this test. We wanted to get rid of that conflict. And so the way we have it set up, it looks as though we'll have between 8 and 10 students working with 2 staff members, which kind of creates a more supportive testing environment, especially given that it's an online test. That test, as you remember from your practice last year, is an adaptive test. It's on the computer. As students answer questions, they're given a question based on how they're doing their responses. And so we're going to try it this new way and see how it works out. And I'll be sure to let you know how the days go as we get there. On Friday afternoon, I got a phone call from a 1980 alumni named Jay Meyer. And Jay had been at an antique store in Greenfield, Massachusetts. And he saw there a track trophy from BUHS that was given at UVM. And it dated back to 1922. And Jay was kind enough to obtain the trophy, brought it up here and presented it to us. And that trophy, goes way back. It's a nice brass trophy. We have it in the front lobby right now for people to see. It's kind of neat to see that history come back from 1922, which I think is before you were a student. And
Ruth was here.
Thank you so much, Robert.
And it's also nice that Jay Meyer saw it and felt strongly enough to get it, and so thanks to Jay for doing that, and thanks to everybody from that class of 1980 that kind of talked it over and said, well, we have to go get that and bring it back to Brattleboro. So it's a nice thing to have happen on a Friday afternoon. Finally, I have 2 resignations to share with the board. First, Assistant Principal Andy Haas is resigning effective June 30th this year. He has accepted a position at the Ellis School in Fremont, New Hampshire. That position begins July 1st. Andy wishes to thank all of us for the wonderful opportunities he's had here as an assistant principal. And I would ask that the board accept his resignation.
I would move that we accept Mr. Andy Haas' resignation as an assistant principal with regret.
Seconded. Seconded by Sean, okay. All those in favor?
Aye. And finally, I
It's nice, I mean, he, not sure exactly, he was the administrator on board for the teacher curriculum
Yep.
committee.
Yes.
And we went through a lot in the years I've been on and really tightened up a lot of the 1% funding and was really good and helpful. And he will be missed.
And with his departure, we're going to reorganize the administrative structure of the high school. And we've started to do that, and I'll share that with TCC and the full board once we finalize that. Second, I am very sad that our mathematics department head, Rick Lane, has chosen to retire at the end of this year. You recall, Rick came to us after serving as a teacher and superintendent in Massachusetts. He was with us for 4 years. During those 4 years, he did a phenomenal job of leading the department. Certainly worked to update curricula, certainly worked to update technology in the classrooms. Has done a great job of working with our veteran staff and also with our younger staff. It's going to be tough to replace Rick. We have posted an advertisement for it. So I would ask that the board accept the resignation of Rick Lane effective June 30th.
I move that we accept the resignation of Rick Lane as math head with regret.
Second.
Seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Is that everything?
That's it.
All right, excellent. All right. WRCC.
Sure. We have a few things happening at the Career Center. On February 27th, students represented the Career Center at UVM's first robotics competition in Burlington. The team went through a judging panel explaining their design decisions and teamwork. And the team received a grant this year for a new control system that uses cell phones and programming through an app. And the requirement of the grant was to participate in the first event. Yeah, so the team members learned a lot and they're ready to compete in future years. For those of you not familiar with FIRST Robotics, it's an after-school led club by Amy Anthony, our engineering instructor at the Career Center. FBLA students will be traveling to Lake Maury March 23rd through the 25th to compete in their Vermont Spring Conference. We wish those students much success. And Skills USA students will be traveling to Burlington April 6th and 7th for a spring conference. Students will be showcasing their skills while competing with other career centers across Vermont. Students will have the opportunity to win scholarships to technical schools, technical colleges, and also tools that are associated with their trade that they're studying. The next RAB meeting, Regional Advisory Board meeting, will be held on March 15th in Nacusick at noon. We'll have students from Future Farmers of America, Skills USA, and the Student Ambassador Group will be giving presentations during that meeting. That's at noon on, I believe, Tuesday the 15th.
Tuesday.
That's it. The Career Center.
And there's no one here from Student Council. Is there anything for central office? Does anybody have any central office? All right. And we're all set there. Okay. So moving on to unfinished business is Act 46 discussion. And Sean, I know you had something you wanted to share.
Yeah, it was sort of under communications, but I could share it under
Okay.
Act 46. I have been sort of paying attention. I've been going to as many of the study committee meetings as I possibly can. And it was interesting to learn at town meeting this year that there were 5 supervisory unions that did choose the accelerated path, so I did a little research. So there are 46 supervisory unions in the state of Vermont, 12 supervisory districts. In addition to that, there are 2 interstate districts. I wasn't really sure what they are, but 4 prior to town meeting had already done the accelerated path. So the total in the state, it looks to me, is 9, which is almost 19% of the 46 of the SUs have signed on to the accelerated path. So I thought it was kind of interesting that there are other areas in the state that are taking advantage of the accelerated path. And then in the paper, I have read in this district such words as describing Act 46 as pernicious. And I had to look that up to get all the specific definition. I sort of knew what it was. But it's death of services, injury, great harm, or ruinous. So I thought it was kind of interesting that people have that attitude here, and elsewhere in the state they have a different attitude. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Sean. Well, Ian and I both serve on the Act 46 committee. Ian, do you have anything you want to share?
Sure. Well, just a basic rundown of our last meeting. That would have been 2 weeks ago on Wednesday. We met. The focus of that meeting was to review the other options other than the accelerated merger option. We went through the whole array of them, and then had a go around around the committee to get a general sense of where we felt we were. The sense very strongly regarding the accelerated merger was that it's simply not realistic for us to be pursuing because of the limited time frame we have left. That there's really no way the districts are going to come together in any kind of agreement in the time frame to make the deadline on that. A deadline where that still has things that are changing. We get different information constantly as the bill is reread, and we're being told that the legislature is actually re-examining it. The likely options that we all singled out, the three that most people singled out were a MUD. Don't ask me what MUD stands for, I do not recall. Modified Union District. But there's two Ds. I don't know what the other D is. I don't remember. But that would essentially be a full merger, possibly without select towns, similar to the standard option, but under Act 153 rather than Act 46. A union of the surrounding towns. So we would have a Brattleboro board and then a surrounding town board was another option. And I believe that I'm not sure that I'm understanding this correctly, but I believe that we would still have a high school board in that sense, in that union, because we would still be a union board between the union of those two entities. And the third option is simply justifying our current structure.
Good job.
Yeah. Would the Brattleboro board then be K through 12, pre-K through 12?
No, the Brattleboro board under that structure would be, I believe, again, we just got a basic framework. How it works out could be different. We're not 100% sure on any of this, and there could be options. But my understanding is that with that option, we would have a Brattleboro K through 6 board and a surrounding town K through 6 board.
Or K through 8.
Or a K through 8.
Or slash K through 8.
Yeah, 6/8, because some have up to there. And still have a union board for the high school middle school.
Because I was at the meeting and I wasn't quite sure what.
But does that option save us money?
The MUD, yeah, it would be, well, the incentive is then drops down to 4-year instead of 5-year. But I actually was also at that meeting and I took a tally, and there were actually 5 individuals who expressed as their number one choice the accelerated, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 or 7 that were interested in going with the MUD, which would mean the election would happen next year. But there were 5 individuals who thought the accelerated.
Well, there were several that said that they would have liked to do the accelerated, but
No, I mean, I wrote it right down.
Well, and I think that there's some people that are on the Act 46 committee who would like to at least give the voters the option to vote for or against the accelerated option. Would like to have it put in front of the voters to let the voters in each individual town decide. So I think that some of the people that said they wanted to continue the accelerated option when we went around and did sort of that straw poll was, at least I know that for a couple people that I've talked to since, that they said yes to the accelerated only because they think it's only right to give it to the town, to the voters to make a decision.
And that would be an expression that the accelerated path is a viable option.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Ruth.
The other thing is, if you go the mud route, this time of year, that's very apropos.
Yeah, it is.
Other towns in the area can ask or be invited to join your mud. If you do the accelerated thing, you have to do it just as this supervisory union.
And then they have to wait, I think it's a period of a year to 2 years, and then other towns can then join.
Yeah.
Other towns could join
unified
later.
district. Right.
In the
But
accelerated
if you do the mud thing, you can, you could invite Marlboro.
Yeah, the MUD
or-
gives us a lot more options than the standard merger as structured in Act 46, which is why MUD takes precedence over the conventional.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
But
there's also.
I still say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and I don't see it as broken.
Well, and I think that there's definitely a vocal group of people that have been coming to our regular meetings on a regular basis that agree with you that want to see us pursue justifying what we're doing to the state and telling them that we don't need to do any sort of merger, which there's questions about, but I think that there's definitely a vocal group of people that have come to those meetings to say that.
As an outsider to that group, I see some value in the surrounding towns merging, because they could do a lot of resource sharing. But if it's just the surrounding towns, they don't have Brattleboro,
They're
pushing them around.
Right, and I think that's one of the concerns. Mike?
Does the Act 46 committee have a self-imposed ending? I mean, do you have to come to a conclusion at some point, or can this go on and on? I mean,
when I volunteered to be on the Act 46 committee, let's just start with that. I said, sure, I thought it'd be a couple of meetings, 4, maybe 5, and we'd be done. We're meeting almost weekly, or at least every other week, and we have been for a couple of months now. And whatever option we end up going with, whatever sort of merger option happens, at some point, the vision is that this Act 46 committee, that's the study committee of the merger, would then become the planning committee for whatever the merger is going to be. And
so the answer
is yes and no. Is that I think the way I understand it is that there is sort of some timelines based on state regulations and things like that. For the accelerated, we have a cutoff date. For certain things, we have some cutoff dates, and then once we get past the point that we have officially decided on a merger option, whether that's gone a voter to the voters or whatever, then there'd be planning meetings continuing.
Slight correction. Once it goes to the vote, the study committee is done.
Right.
If it's accepted.
If it's accepted.
Yeah.
If it's not accepted, then we're
once the
done.
voters accept some kind of decision, that's our cutoff. We're done.
when do you expect a vote?
No, actually, the article in today's paper said that it would probably be in, I believe, the latter part of April. Because if it isn't, then you're really saying, okay, we're not going to do anything till next year and put everything back on the shelf.
Okay, yeah, if we do an accelerated option, but that's most likely not going to pass.
Well, I went to all the meetings. I do not agree with you, man. It did not seem like a dead in the water idea to me.
So the only thing that's holding Vernon up, not to interrupt.
No, you're not.
But the only thing that's holding Vernon, I'm not privy to the conversation, except I understand that Vernon doesn't like losing school choice.
Yes.
Now, that's an immovable object, it cannot
Well,
be changed.
I went to the meeting at Vernon also, where it was not the Act 46 study committee meeting. There were members of the study committee there, but it was actually the Vernon School Board. And Mike said, and I can't say 100%, but it seemed to me that school choice would still be a grandfathered option for Vernon, for high school. That's what Ron said. And
No,
then-
well,
For the high school students that have it now.
Yeah,
Yes.
Not for
it would
future
be,
high
it would be
school.
grandfathered. I think the maximum we could grandfather it, from what I remember hearing at one of our meetings, was if however the merger happened, we could grandfather it in. I think it was up to 6 years, so that certain, so the kids that are currently in the pipeline who believe that who currently have choice would continue to have choice, but there would be a cutoff date, and then the new kids that came into the Vernon Elementary School, that would not be an option for them. There's also, I mean, so that is definitely, I think, for some people in Vernon, that's a major deal.
It's a good draw to the town.
It is,
That's the major problem in Vernon, and school closure is the major problem in Guilford.
Yeah, there's a fear of that. And then also, from what I've heard at town meeting, the Dummerston school budget passed, but they passed it with, and I don't have the dollar figure in front of me, a pretty large amount of money put into their budget specifically for legal fees to either fight or deal with Act 46.
And I missed that portion of the meeting.
Of the town meeting. So, but what I was told from another school board member in Dummerston, that's not on Act 46, is that the budget passed with a fairly substantial dollar amount in it, with the specific attachment to it that it's there to be used for dealing with Act 46, whatever is decided by the town, which is, I thought, an interesting piece.
Gives you an indication of how Dummerston goes.
How's Dummerston's feeling, right? Anything else?
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
it's my understanding that the next meeting is the 17th of March, and that's when the state is
No,
sending
it's next
the
meeting is
It's this Thursday.
This Thursday at 7 o'clock at the
Is-
academy, 6 o'clock at
6
the
o'clock,
academy.
okay.
Is that when the state's sending their big
No.
guns down to try and twist our arms?
Okay.
Ruth, I don't know that
They're coming, they're
warrants a
coming.
response.
Okay, there are people coming from the Department of Education and stuff to a follow-up meeting, but it's not the one this week.
If that
That's
one
the
is on
17th.
That one is on 17th,
On the
right?
And they're actually
17th,
coming because we invited them down to share information.
Yes.
on the 17th.
And to answer
Rebecca
questions, 'cause
Holcomb, who is
things keep
the
changing.
Secretary of the Agency
I mean,
of Education.
And some people have already agreed to go on the accelerated plan, and then the state is changing things, I mean, that's.
No, actually, you know, if you look at information that comes from other parts of the state, I always watch Vermont This Week on PBS, Vermont Television, and there are people from Madison County, and they're saying the legislature is not going to change Act 46 appreciably. Everybody said that. So if you look in Windham County, yes, everybody thinks it's going to change. If you look at statewide, it is not going to change.
There seems to be a lot of unanswered questions.
Well, which is why the Act 46 Study Committee has invited Secretary Holcomb down on the 17th to have so that we can ask those questions that seem to be getting either not real clear answers and stuff like that, to get real clear answers about.
I don't think she knows what the legislature's gonna do either, because they don't know what they're gonna do.
Well, and we can't control the legislature.
Well, but there are several things that we've gotten different answers on. It's just, it's not something that's changed, it's that the answer has changed.
Is there anything else about Act 46 specifically? No? Okay. And anything else under unfinished business for tonight's meeting? Or any new business for tonight's meeting? Not seeing any new business?
Well,
Yeah.
Pat's here now, so we could ask him about the
Yes, that's true.
committee.
Pat, earlier this evening, we were doing reorganization.
Yeah.
And You, prior to tonight's meeting, were listed as a voting member of the WSCSU board.
Yes.
And we're wondering / hoping you would be willing to continue to serve in that way?
Yes.
Excellent, okay. For the other committees, TCC, Planning and Policy, Finance, etc., take a couple of days, look at that. If there's anything you want to change, a committee you want to be on and you want to get off, or you want to get off of a committee, email me with that information and we'll kind of see where everything shakes out.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
And can we just, once that's all settled, even if it hasn't changed, can we get just a?
I will have Barb read you basically this list with all the current assignments and email it to all board members and administration so that everybody has the most up-to-date list once it's up to date. Excellent. Yes.
I had circulated a sheet from Barb Nowakowski for all board members to update their demographic information.
Yes, I have it here,
Great.
and
Pat,
if you could pass it to Pat
Thank
so
you.
that he can.
and then the only person who is not here to do that is Lori. She's not here tonight. But. So Pat, when you're done with that, I guess give it back to Steve. Yes. Okay.
Is there a new person elected to the board?
No, Bob was the only one up for re-election and he was re-elected.
And
I just want to say before Ruth makes her motion, just one is that it's exciting to have you as chair, but it's just hitting me. I mean, it's by Bob, you not being chair, it's sort of sad, and but I understand that, and just wanted to thank you for your years again. We did that earlier, but it takes me a while to assimilate new news.
Takes me a while too, because I wanted to grab.
Keep grabbing the gavel. That's right there. All right.
I would like to present Ricky with the bag, which I had taken care of for these 4 years that holds the signs. It's undergone some repair. It still has David Dunn's notes, but
Okay.
It's a historic
It's
piece.
a document.
Document,
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you very much. All right. Is there any other business to come before the board tonight?
Hearing none, I move to adjourn.
Second.
And seconded by Mike. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much.